Oh, hi, how can I help you?
Hi there, I'm new to metal detecting and I'd like to buy my first detector today. What do you have in the $300 region?
Would you like it to be waterproof, with an adjustable stem and lightweight too?
Absolutely, and I also need great depth as well. I'd like wireless audio, USB rechargeable, and it would be great if it had software updates.
I've been detecting for 30 years, and there's no way you can get all of that for that price.
And that is where this gentleman is wrong, because there is one option. Only one though. The Nocta Macro Simplex.
And the Simplex becomes the best-selling product worldwide, setting a new bar in terms of price-performance ratio. Simplex has advanced in many ways: hardware, software, design, and ergonomics. Yet one thing has stayed the same: worldwide proven performance and success, backed up by a company that cares. Nocta Simplex New Generation. For every budget.
Good evening. It's Thursday. It's 8 o'clock, and I'm back in the studio. I'm back off my road trips.
Good evening, everyone. You all right,
Nice
David?
and warm. You know how warm it was last Thursday night on the show?
Oh, yeah. We've gone for a bit of a heat wave and then a rain wave, and now it's gone back to normal here. So,
yes, same here. How are you, darling?
I'm actually okay after Saturday night. I participated in too much joyfulness and merriness.
Yes, we did a little, didn't we?
It was a good weekend. I hats off to Pete Terrell and especially Helen Chamberlain, who was involved, and all the marshals and all the people who were involved in organising it. It was a lovely, mellow, chilled time that we agreed that, didn't we?
We did, especially in the cup of tea place.
Yes,
the magic teapot. Big yellow teapot was amazing.
Yeah, it was it was a bit more festivally, and I don't know, it it just felt different. It was a bit like the Spring Detectable in 2021, Dave, 22, 21.
Yeah, when everybody came back from post-COVID, the first one back.
Yeah, it was a little bit chilled, but the weather was hot. Oh my gosh,
Ridiculously.
I sat with Digger Dawn and Chris Langston for a few hours, talking, putting the world to rights, and
You got there and spent about 4 hours sat with Digger Dawn.
yes, and yes, and I spent
Where's
4 hours
Adrian?
with her dog on Sunday. Because she went off. No, that was fine. It was about an hour, but it was lovely seeing everyone, and me and Dave really appreciate people coming up to us saying they watched the show. It was really nice, and the awards seem to have gone down very well as well.
I couldn't believe the amount of people who were coming up to us and saying we watched this show, and honestly, I do appreciate every single one of you who said, because a lot of kind words, and I'm not very good when it comes to receiving credit, and I've been people asking for selfies and such like. It's not my bag. I'm not that YouTuber way inclined. So, yeah, I do appreciate every single one of you. And, you know, we've had lots of bloody little presents bought for us as well, haven't we?
Yes. Jane's Ministry of Detect brought me some refreshments. I can't think of everyone, but we had a lot of alcohol. I think you had a lot of cake. You did have a lot of cake.
Yeah, I had a hell of a lot of cake.
But yeah,
I wasn't well. I really wasn't well at Rodney Cook, but I was tickety-boo this weekend. I was back on form, I think.
And a big thank you to Luke Higgins for letting me and Boy Wonder use his tent, even though my son slept just on the ground sheet all night with no blanket or cover.
And who was it who left the tent open and you got sort of flooded out in the rain?
We can't remember getting in the tent, but I do remember waking up.
You do remember getting in the tent, because I came to visit you in the tent.
Yes, with no clothes on, standing there shining a torch, and it very much scared us. You know, when you're just like nodding off to sleep, everyone, when you're just dozing and just thinking, I'm just going off, and then suddenly it's, all right, lads, and there's a man with no clothes on.
You weren't just going off, you were just getting in. Read the bottom of the screen off, Dan Spencer.
Yeah, all Seamaster, yes, I've been looking at them. Dan, they're a lot more money around here, but they're manufactured in Dunmow in Essex, which is just down the road from me. I've been doing my research. It was lovely catching up with Dan in the teapot. That sounds very strange, but yes, we had
we were all sat in the windows watching like that, going, "Oh, magazine friends,"
talking about boats, not detectors at all. We're talking about boats, but yes,
and Dan was actually enjoying a very happy birthday as well, so he was a tad inebriated.
I didn't say happy birthday to him. I was too interested in boats. Sorry about that.
Can I ask a question as well before we go any further?
What about
Tom,
the shorts
your
getting wet?
son, has recently started metal detecting with you. He's been to Rodney Cook. He's been to Detectable. How was it for Tom?
Now, I have spent many years detecting with my children taking the mickey out of me. My daughter has been detecting with me now. She gets it, but sadly, because of her job, she's working shifts, nights and all that. It's hard to get out with her. My son, he came to Rodney Cook. He loved it. I think he thought it was a one-off. I think he thought, the others aren't going to be like this. And then he came to Detectable, and, well, as you know, he absolutely loved it. And it's good. If you've got kids and they get older, what a great way to bond. Bit of countryside walking, bit of history, nice people in the hobby. There might be a few weird ones, but nice people in the hobby.
And some knobs.
Yeah, he loved it. Absolutely loved it. And he cannot wait for next year. And then suddenly he grew up watching Soccer AM. He's sitting there with me in the tent. Helen Chamberlain comes along, gives me a kiss and says hello. And then we sat there, didn't we, Dave, for about an hour chatting with Helen. And then you said to him, go on, Tom, ask her. Go on, Tom, ask her. Can I have my photo, please? A photo with her. And then at work all day on Monday. But yeah, it was, the son loved it. And it was nice to see a lot of families and young people, and especially for us, there was a nice family, and we can't.
I'd put you right. Apologies, because I know they're watching, because they always watch on the main screen. and my mind's gone blank again because my mind does that, and because it's generally I'm inebriated when I see you every year. But this family are the greatest family known to man, and thank you for including us in your weekend because we had a great laugh with you, didn't we, Adrian?
Yes, especially when you told us about your son, but we won't mention
Yeah,
that on
when we spoke about the son and things that his mum caught him doing and such just to embarrass you because I know you're watching, and that's where we'll leave it.
Yeah.
Dad, we know the score.
Yes, but we met some lovely people, and I met Sean as well, who works with my daughter as a paramedic, and that was nice.
How mad was that?
Yeah, people probably want to just move on with the show, but we're all standing in the crowd with Nocta or the raffle. So there's hundreds of people in the crowd. My son's behind me. I've got Dave next to me. And this boy turns behind, this voice goes, "Is your name Tom?" And my son goes, "Might be." I'm thinking, here we go. It's going to kick off. Your dad is an absolute idiot and all that. I'm thinking, oh no, it's all going to kick off in front of everyone. And he worked with my daughter. And he's just started metal detecting, and he came on his own and he joined us, Dave, didn't he? So
he did.
Hello, Sean, if you're watching. So yeah, it was absolutely lovely, and I don't know, it was well done by Detectable, and I'm looking forward to next year. And we saw Mark Becker, we saw Digger Dawn, Chris Langston, we saw Found in the Ground,
Garrett Gang.
Yeah, the Garrett Gang. It was good.
The owner of XP was at both events as well.
Yes, I saw that.
Alan.
And Nocta were there. Obviously Garrett and Mine Lab. Yeah, they were all there. It was really good.
Philip Wells asked me, can we look to why you can't get notifications from the Big Detecting Show channel? God, I've only just sussed out how you can comment on it. Never mind that. Yes, I'll have a look into that, Philip. Anyway, without further ado, I know you're all here for one particular reason, and that's to speak to a certain young gentleman, one that I have the most highest of regards for, as well I've told him multiple times, and somebody who also, as voted by yourselves, recently won the... Oh, my mind's gone blank. What was he, Adrian? I can't remember what it was. Insatiable? No.
Best polo neck?
Incredible? No. Best polo neck. Inspirational Person of the Year award on the Big Detective. And we will give a run through later on the Big Detective Show awards as well. So, good evening, Mr. Evan-Hart. He hasn't got a polo neck on.
I know. I got a very trendy T-shirt on from one of the big supermarkets, I think, about $4.99. But yeah, just to hook you guys back up on that award, mate. As I said at the time, I haven't had an award since fourth year senior school for the art prize, and then it's just been blank. So that was a cool loopage. 53 years it's taken for me to get another award. But thank you to everyone who voted for me. As a real surprise, and that's the good thing about these things when you don't have an idea and you just coast through life, and all of a sudden, bop. And that made the Rodney Cook extra special for me this year, and I shall never forget that. Absolutely
thoroughly well deserved. And also, hello, Lisa.
Hi.
There she is.
Right, Lisa. Got an outfit on. Is that a nurse's outfit?
Yeah.
Oh, Jules has got it all going on tonight.
Hurry up, please. Get the questions over and done with.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Julian Evan-Hart.
It was. Just looking at the reflection on my glasses, I thought, look, I'm spaced out or something, but yeah.
Well, don't do too much. We don't want to know if you've got pants on or not.
No. Which I didn't have on Saturday morning, Dave. I had pants on, but I didn't have shorts. But that's another story. So, Jules,
yes.
Well, Dave, we're here to talk about something which you've decided to do write a book. This one,
I have, yeah. Don't really know when the first idea for that one came through. About 15 years ago, I think. I started sort of keeping a sort of journal. In fact, I started that in 1973, and I only stopped doing it probably 10 years ago because it was just an obsession. But it was handy having that sort of thing to look back on, because I thought, you take a lot in life for granted, and my memory is absolutely rubbish, so I forget a lot of life for granted. And I sort of sat back about 2 years ago and I thought, this hobby has been really good to me. It's given me a wealth of opportunity which otherwise would never have happened. I've excavated dambuster Lancasters, which later Johnny Johnson attended, bless him. I've been out in the deserts of Jordan. I had a meeting with Al Qaeda. That weren't planned. Loads of interesting things happened out in Jordan, and I've spilt most of them in the book.
A lot of things do happen in and around Jordan. Oh, we're on about the country. Sorry.
Yeah,
So,
already.
I mean,
I just
Jules,
knew that was coming.
Those who are new to detecting or new to the show and haven't heard of you, whilst Dave's doing some sort of Star Trek.
Can't find me book.
What age were you, and what got you into the hobby of metal detecting?
Pretty straightforward, really. Sort of must have been about 1971, 72, when my mum's friends actually got hold of a metal detector. And sort of then I think it cost a fair amount of money. It's totally out of my perspective. And she said, "Oh, one day you can use that." So I was sort of itching away the months, thinking, yeah, like when? And she was out in her garden. She found a Victoria penny, and I thought, well, this is all well cool, sort of thing. And then about 2.5 years after she'd first bought it, she said, "Oh, yeah." She said, "I thought you can use that detector now. In fact, even better than that, you can have it because I don't have the times." I thought, demon, here we go. And I said, "Well, where is it?" Sort of thing, And then she said, "It's out in the porch." Anyway, so I picked it up, had a look at it. Must have been about 9 or 10 then. And all this blue powder shot out of the battery compartment. And I thought, the porch had a leaky roof. It had leaked down the thing. It had gone straight in. So I blew it. So for about the next decade after that, I sort of begged, borrowed, and ponched them off my mates, sort of thing, who had them, and didn't get into. I was always into the hobby. It was one of those things I knew from as soon as I learned about that you could have this ability to go look for things. And then I suppose it would have been, golly gosh, about 1976. I was just walking down this country lane and I looked through the hedge and there was a dude out in the field, like waving this old thing about. That sounds dodgy, doesn't it?
Yeah, I was just going to say, how old were you?
It was a metal detector, right? So anyway,
had the puppies in his car.
That's it. I was a bit of a loner then, so I thought, well, what can I do, sort of thing. I want to get his attention, so I sort of milled through the stile and hovered around in the field, got nearer and nearer until I was 6 foot away, and then he started going, "All right," and I said, "Yeah, we found anything?" And he had a few gold guineas out of that field. I went back in that field 50 years later and found a Georgian corroded pennies. I think whatever machine he had, he'd mullered it. But I often think back. I mean, he took time, and I knew where there was a Roman villa. So me and a load of mates walked with him. You don't even contemplate that now. Sort of 3 or 4 10-year-old lads walking across the fields of a total stranger. I mean, it just sends alarm bells. But the 70s were a lot more easygoing, ignorant, some might say, but we just did it. Nobody cared. Showed him the villa. He found a couple of Roman coins, gave us one each, sort of thing, and that was it. And I often think that he must have been, God blimey, he must have been 50 years old in 74, and I still think he could somewhere come from London. I remember that he might still be alive, and I think I owe a lot to that guy. So if you're watching this show, mate, 98 years old, or even you've broken the big ton, thank you for that, because you instilled in me a love of a hobby from which I've never looked back on. So owe you one, sir.
He's probably watching but can't see or hear. But no, it's you're right. I think the 70s was a lot more. Kids were freer to do things, and
oh yeah, definitely.
I used to take my dad's detector over fields near us when I was probably about 10 or 11. Didn't really know what I was doing or how to use it, but at the same time, I had an air rifle over my shoulder walking down the road,
or a gat gun.
Yeah, everyone had gat guns.
70s penknife, gat gun, catapult, and just about anything else. Granddad set World War bayonet just to prove yourself really hard. I remember the gat gun.
So after you obviously had I shouldn't say real jobs, but you had actual jobs. You haven't detected all your life, and it's
Yeah, I've I've done just about everything, as a matter of fact, because the weird thing is, from the early 80s, I knew I wanted to detect. So basically, and I was never career minded. So I thought, I want to detect and I'll do anything that can provide me with the money and the necessary things to do it. So let's have a look. I worked in Tesco's as a shelf filler, land registry doing documents. I was rubbish at that. I bet there's some landowners out there who own a hell of a lot more property than they should do with my boundary marking. What else did I do? I was a senior departmental manager in a bakery. I was a factory manager for early digital camera factory, which was a great fun. Thoroughly loved that. Doctor's surgery receptionist. Yeah, I was should have employed me
Really?
should have employed me down at Dover. I tell you what, nobody would get in. But I've done quite a few variable careers in the time, and then landed this one some 8 years ago, I think. And well, some people say it's dangerous to get a job in the hobby that you like, but for me, not so. It's a dream job. Love it to bits. The privileges that go with it, seeing people's finds, getting people, I found this, Jules, what do you reckon? It's just magnified it beyond all scope that I would have been had I not got the job. So yeah, it's one of those things, at the end of every month when you see the magazine produced and you think, geez, it is really, really hard work. But at the end of every month, you get that Billy bonus, and you walk in the Smiths and you think, yeah, I was part of the team that put that on the shelf. And it's a great team that we've got. Real lovely.
Well,
But,
Britain's
yeah.
biggest selling. Well, I think it could even be the world's biggest selling metal detecting magazine.
I don't know what the American Digger does out in America. I imagine that's got some volume to it. But yeah, I would think it's a safe claim. There's some magazines in France, even some in Eastern Europe. But I don't think that they have the capacity. But again, that's the business side of things, and I'm not involved with that at all. I steer well clear of that.
Just do colouring and drawing and writing.
Yeah, anything to do with numbers or maths, or I'm out of there.
I call them, as soon as you call them sums, people know you're not any good at them. David Evans has just put in the chat, first person keeps coming up when I first started detecting was Julian's name everywhere. In public toilets. No.
Do you know how much he actually had to pay for that? I heard he paid a small fortune in advertising costs here. The Google search people.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Brilliant stuff.
Dave, you've asked Jules some questions because I've got a few, but I don't know. I know him. So I know the truth about him. No, I know.
Well,
I mean, I met you, Jules. I'll tell you, it's not my show, but I'll explain. About 6 or 7, no, it's about 6 years ago, I joined a club, and I won't mention what club. And this lovely lady come in. This lovely lady. There's only about 5 of us around the table in this pub. It was a new club starting up. This lovely lady came in and said, "Hello, I'm Lisa." I went, "Oh, hello, Lisa."
Lady.
And her name was Tracy. And and Lisa sat down, and I think you've got a gold stater out, Lisa, didn't you, or a couple of them?
Yeah.
And you said, "Oh, I found these, blah blah blah." I was like, "All right," and she said, "Yeah, and I'm also friends with Julian Evan-Hart."
No, I actually said my partner's Julian Evan-Hart.
Oh yeah, I didn't want to say that just in case I got it wrong, but and I thought she's mental. That's honest truth. I thought she's mental. You know, when you get these people, she's bought these staters on eBay. She's trying to get near men. And she's friends with the editor of Treasure Hunting magazine. I'm like, oh, right. And then I can remember we got on well, and I thought, oh, she seems quite normal. And then I suddenly met you, Jules, didn't I, at the next meeting. And then
that's right. Yeah, friendship. I remember.
And then we've been out detecting a few times.
Yeah,
and, I will say, he's very. How do I explain your detecting style? Very joyful, but concentrate at the same time. I think I did probably about 100 foot detecting and digging, and within that time you'd moved about half a foot but found twice as much as me.
Yeah,
do you remember that field?
A route to the ground on good sites, and that where you James and I went that year in where was it, in the park, wasn't it?
We were allowed.
It was just heaving with stuff, wasn't it? I've still got it. I've got a little threepenny token from that local pub, and which was or still is owned by Alan Sugar. And I thought, yeah, one day I'm going to walk in there, that 3p token, and see what that'll get me. But no, I love things like that. It was a lovely day out. Really brilliant day. Thoroughly enjoyed that.
It was a nice day, and we've still got that permission, and we want to go back. But
yeah,
there was so many. I think there was fairs held on there in the early
never
1900s.
had so many coins, and they were everywhere.
64 pennies we dug between us in the morning. So it was absolutely crazy. And I found that what was it? That badge that they wore at church.
I remember.
Bishop's badge or something.
Yeah,
that
like
children
a bishop
wore.
mitre, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was quite nice. But
marvellous.
So you've been detecting for over 50 years.
I know. I'm not quite sure where that went. It's
Such an old codger.
Yeah, I know. It's quite handy though when you get this 16-year-old kid gobbing off at you in the street, and you say, "Mate, keep you quiet because you're going to be 58 next week. It will go that quickly." But yeah, it has. I think I'm 61 in 4 weeks' time. I mean, I just still 18 at heart. The old body ain't, no, but hell damn,
No.
But it is what it is. So, I just. I look back and I think, what happened to my 40s? That's pretty old then. And I think, but so can't stop it. So I'm certainly not going to dwell on it, but it does fascinate me.
Is that where you had hair and noticeable eyebrows in your book?
Yeah, I know. But I had a centre parting, and I had one of those long taily bits in the 80s. Well, I can't remember what they called them. Not a mullet, a rat's tail.
Rat's tail, yeah.
Yeah, and then a centre parting and, a huge, great amount of hair. But that just went.
But just before you go on, Adrian, just let me say hello to everybody in the chat.
Sorry,
there's a hell of a lot of people saying hello whose names we haven't come across before. So thank you all for tuning in. We are a mediocre show, but we try our hardest. We don't take ourselves very seriously, me and Adrian, but we try to take the hobby seriously sometimes. Apparently.
No, we do. Well, I try to.
So thank you for joining us, and stick with us. We're here every week, 8:00 on a Thursday night, and we just have lots of guests like this wonderful gentleman here, Mr. Julian Evan-Hart.
Yes, and we will shortly later on ask people if they've got any questions, but we won't do it just yet.
Yeah. Which we will likely ignore as well, but we'll ask.
Yeah, we try because it flies through the screen. But yeah, Dave's right. Thank you everyone for joining us.
Absolutely.
We've also got a compilation video of images from each of the Rodney Cook and Detectable as well to show you. And is there anything else as well tonight, Adrian? Someone was supposed to be coming on for 5 minutes, but he's unfortunately unable to.
We can. Well, the only thing I would say, and it's totally off piste, is lockdown competitions, right? This is a plug because I don't do competitions at all, and they're doing one at the moment. 99p for a ticket for a Manticore, right? Only one ticket you can buy at lockdown competitions, and I thought I'll buy one, right? 99p. It's a no-brainer. What can you buy for that now? You can't buy anything, and I thought I might as well get a ticket for something else because my son wants a new detector. So I thought, I could win it and then sell him it less 2%. And I won 100 quid today. One of these, before it gets drawn, I won 100 quid. So thank you, Lockdown Competitions and Gary. And the money has just gone in my account, which is pretty cool. And I know, Lisa, you do a lot of those lockdown competitions, and you do as well, don't you, Dave? But I keep hearing everyone's winning on them, and I don't quite know how it works. But I just
apart from Tom Pizarek never wins a thing on it.
No,
poor old Tom.
Yeah. Right. Let's talk about this. So this is quite a big book. It's
it's a bit weird that because I got to when I write a book, and I've lost count how many I've written or contributed to, but it's in the early 30s I think now, and so much English teacher who told me I'd never be any good at English. But there you go. I reckon that accounts to a lot of people. But yeah, as I hated English at school, and very surprised to be an editor of a magazine and a book author. But with this one, I normally aim to get to about 50,000 words, and I sort of grind to a halt, thinking, well, that's a novel. That'll do. And then I was talking with Lisa, and she reminded me of so many things that I'd forgotten about. And I thought, oh, so I write a skeleton out of all subtitles, and I'd pack the meat on and fill it, and do all that sort of thing and build on it. I got to 60,000 words, and then I got to 120,000 words, and I thought, oh, geez, and 240 photos, and I thought,
yeah, it's a lot of photos.
That is, it's nearly 400 pages, and I thought, well, do you know what? Yeah, I packed it full of everything I've learned in the hobby that I know people have shown me, and it's right that and I put all the experience I got, cleaning, preservation of artifacts, things that work that I've been shown over 50 years, not even bothered with anything that doesn't work, pointless. Funny things, just like if you over clean a silver coin, one of the little things, you can pop that into a boiled egg yolk for 15 minutes and it will retone black, and then you can start from scratch again. Or it might take longer than 15 minutes, but 15 minutes I've seen them turn black. Or dip it in domestos. Probably the nightmarish things for coin conservators, but so long as you've just cleaned it and you haven't abraded the surface, these things are fine. But and all little, and I've had a moan in there, of course, about the legal definition of a hoard. Things that aren't right with officialdom. Of course, I have not left alone. They are my opinions. I think that officialdom, in its capacity, should recognise this hobby in a more greater capacity than it does. There are clear faults somewhere. Again, my opinions, but fluffy definitions which don't do the hobby any good, but could be interpreted as, they're fluffy for a reason. But I've always been, tell me what you want me to do, mate, and I will do it. I want clear-cut visionary guidelines of things. Otherwise, the law can waft off into tangents, and it has difficulty in being interpreted correctly for the metal detectorist involved. So I've really let go a few cannons on this one, and I've taken no prisoners because it's not in my nature to feed them when I do. And I've just put, but again, I say these are my opinions, but I have used the opinions of other detectorists who've come up and they've said things to me, and I thought, you know what, mate, you are so right with that, and that is so wrong. So yeah, the book is full of little things, little anecdotes, observations that I've made, which maybe of importance to the hobby, if maybe science and R&D developers would like to sort of look into them and maybe a bit deeper, because all the stuff I quoted is not one-offs. They are repeated things that I've noted over 50 years and other people have agreed with me. So I think, well, that's good enough to have that as an opinion. And basically, I wrote the book as my sort of give back to the hobby. As you got, sorry.
No,
as you guys know, I had a whack of heart attacks 4 years ago, and it does put things into perspective and made me think, yeah, maybe this is the time I need to write this now. Because your own mortality is something that's very difficult to deal with. Everyone else dies around you. Soldiers die, or granddad dies, maybe your parents die, but actually when it comes home to you that actually you're going to, that's a big wake-up call. And we don't spend much time thinking about it, and therefore, no, we actually shouldn't, because you don't want to obsess your life with that. But there comes a time when you sort of think, yeah, you know what, yeah, maybe the time to do this. So I did. It took me, I think, with Lisa's help, I think I'd got the book this book was done in under 3.5 weeks. I normally go for speed writing, and then I bed it for 6 months, look at it, I think, oh, that's rubbish, Jules. Restructure it, re-add to it, leave it for another couple of months. But yeah, 3.5 weeks to write it, which is normal. I wrote a novel in 2 days once.
Well, getting on, it's 50 years of rambling in the field, and I quite like that word rambling, better than mincing. But the book sort of is in a good way a ramble. It's almost the way I can say it. Dave's found his.
It's been doing me head in, that has.
I quite like the sort of the way it jumps between bits. So
it has to, Adrian. When I talk to people, I have to butt in Because listen, if I don't butt in, I've forgotten it in 2 minutes, and I want to say it sort of thing, and I get so much stuff coming in my head. I think I've got to say, and the book is me. I digress. 1 minute I'm talking about a Second World War crash Lancaster bomber. The next minute I'm talking about a clutch of moorhen's eggs. But what I decided to do with that is chapterize it. So it's not sentences all over. If I'm going to go on to moorhen's eggs or egg collecting or fossil hunting, then it will have a whole chapter dedicated just to it, but it'll be a digression, and I'll swing back to the main subject again. But that's me to a T, that is.
Very Billy Connolly.
Yeah, it's a true, yeah.
It reminds me of a very elongated pub conversation. Sitting next to someone in the pub talking about metal detecting and the hobby. Just quickly, Stephen Brain, Julian, were there times when you never found anything and wanted to give up over the 50 years? Ooh, good question.
Very good question. In a single word, no, which is unusual for me to pick up. It fascinated me, and I always knew what lay out in the ground, and I had a fair, reasonable chance, along with Lady Luck, a reasonably decent detector, a bit of land research, asking people in pubs, what's played up in the fields in the 30s. For me, it never stopped. If I wasn't out detecting, I was writing about it. And I'd look at fields, family holidays were ruined because I'd be looking out the window all the time thinking, like this. And you look at fields in a different, I became a crop expert. I mean, I'm not interested in cereal crops at all. But like most detectorists, we can tell you within a week when that field's coming off and what the last crop of the year is, the first cereal crop to come off. And I just think, it goes on. But marvelous skills.
Yeah, I agree, because I probably have 10 minutes in the year detecting each year where I think, why am I doing this? I'm detecting on a field with, I don't know, possibly green waste. It's raining, it's muddy. I haven't found anything. I've lost my digging trail or pinpointer somewhere. And I'm like, do you know what I mean? Or I do get those occasional blips. But other times...
Yeah, but that's the purity of the hobby, I think, because just imagine, and some people might say, oh, fabulous. But if you went out and found something good every day, after a while, but because it teases you, and you're looking at the land and you're looking at pottery, and you do get the tough days. And equally on those, I've had about 10 years ago, I went out with a mate. Just outside of his garden gate, I found an enamelled dragonesque brooch. And I thought, and he hadn't dropped it instead, although he tried to claim he had, but I'm sure he was jesting anyway. Whether he was or not, he didn't get it. 30 foot from that, I had a gold quarter stater. Then I walked a mile, had another gold quarter stater, a good handful of Roman, then a silver unit and a beautiful Celtic bronze unit. And that was in 3 hours. What did he find in that period? Nothing. But that's what I call a run, and you will remember those. When you get those, you don't remember the 350 other completely rubbish days that you've had. It just, the hobby gives you something. And let's not forget, although certain things can tell a story and you can research them, i.e. find a bit of a Lancaster bomber, you can research that, the crew's names, when it crashed and all that. Many things can't speak, although in the book, I do go into some detail on my friend Dave Stuckey, who found 2 named artifacts on a Roman villa many years ago. A beautiful 6-inch long nail cleaner with the lady's name of Marciana stamped on it.
Was that the gentleman who got You've Been Framed?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Do you know, they lost one of the coins after they did that for over a week. They couldn't find it, but and he's got this nail cleaner, and it's named Marciana. And we were sort of thinking, was that a lady who lived on this villa? Was it the owner's sister who visited from Kent? And your whole brain is cogging. But the glorious thing about it is that you found an object that once belonged to Marciana, and that's very rare in our hobby. You hear of wartime evacuees bracelets being sent back after 80 years, which is beautiful, but beyond that, you can't send a First World War dog tag back to the original owner now because, bless them, he, or rarely she, is dead. Second World War now, the dog tags it's more likely you're going to send one back to his son, and his son is going to be 84 years old now. That's the son of the pilot, but it's a great, you look at a Roman brooch, you're never going to know who owned it or anything like that. But name things are absolutely fantastic. When you get a wedding ring or a signet ring and a graduation ring, and you can send it back to the guy or lady involved, that, I think, for me, is probably one of the most poignant things, sending World War II dog tags back. Out of 8 found last year, with the help of Uwe out in Germany and Ian out in America, we returned 6 of those to the family.
Wow.
One didn't want it back for personal reasons. The other one, the family had died out. But to get 6 out of 8 back, and it is hard work, but it's so worth it.
I've just got to read out one of Richard Lincoln's responses. Questioning one's dedication to the hobby usually occurs on a rally, usually on a Sunday, usually after a liquid Saturday night. That's when the doubt creeps in. He's not wrong.
He's not wrong. Yeah. I mean, the beginners to the hobby probably think that the rallies are going to, and some are for some, but the rallies are going to be, I'm going to find more here this weekend than I find all year. And you might do, but what you will find is friendship, fun, games, and a great bunch of people at a rally. You can guarantee that.
I've done a big section in the book on rallies. I've written my own mythical rally of the guy locking the gate after the rally's finished, and all the archaeological evidence that modern people have left there, and summarising it, the crushed grass, the driven through cowpats, the bit of bacon flicked up unwanted from a barbecue that's in the bramble patch. And I've gone into it the nth degree, and at the end I've done an analysis of my personal observations of, I paid £25 and I never found anything, or Mr. and Mrs. 930, as I call them. They're marching up the field. You say, all right, guys, are you having a good time? No, it's absolute rubbish here. Could you let me know the machine that you've used, which has just consumed 400 acres in the first half hour? I said, because I'd love to field test that. But you get them all. And although they can be annoying to the rally organiser, they're part of the rich mosaic of this hobby. They've allowed me to write a whole chapter on them, of observations of rally types and rally. And, and it's not a criticism. It's an observation of these people. You live your life as you so wish to do so, but I've just observed it and I'm going to comment on it.
I thoroughly enjoyed this on Monday, Steve Cord's videos, where he actually went urbexing at Detectable in abandoned tents.
Yeah, it's quite
people had just gone home and left the tent, and he was exploring tents. Brilliant.
Brilliant.
I saw that.
That's modern day archaeology. When I was out in Jordan, the weirdest thing was we had to do an archaeological survey of the Silk Route, which runs across Jordan, which is about 2 miles across. It's hundreds of camel trackways. There's Roman coins everywhere, Roman silver coins, Islamic coins everywhere on these patches. I mean, in one patch, I looked, and on the surface, there must have been 5,000 coins, ancient coins, Roman coins, everything. But the great thing about the guy who was in charge of it at the time, he said, well, everything is in an archaeological context. He said, so discarded camel bells that are modern, bits of ribbon, bits of cloth, yogurt pots that the Bedouins have thrown away, collect those up as well, and we will include them. And I'd never looked at life like this, but he was a great protege of modern conflict archaeology, which I started on, and many were decades before me, digging Spitfires up and things, and we thought that was it. But this guy was doing, like, a war happened 2 weeks ago. He'd fly out there when it was sorted out and safe. He'd do the archaeology of it. The bullet cases were still shiny. The blood splats are still on the wall. But that was archaeology that he could capture in that moment, which 40 years' time, nobody can do. And I thought, this is quite intriguing, but he had me out in the desert gathering up bloody yogurt pots and Kit Kat wrappers. He said it's all part of the one-hit image. He said your Roman coins are fabulous. He said, but the yogurt pots have their own place in an archaeological study. Now, some might say, well, that's going a bit far. But actually, because in the detectorists amongst us and the searchers, it caused not resentment, but you what? Yeah, and then we suddenly thought, actually, this is quite cool.
It's all history.
I was doing an archaeology club at a school with a former colleague, And his words to the children, and they've stuck with me, archaeology begins today. So exactly the same concept.
Even a second
begins
ago.
today.
You know,
If somebody drops a £1 coin, the metal detectorists found it. It's a metal detecting find.
Yeah, when you read my analysis of a rally the day or the hour after everyone's gone, I did publish it, not in the magazine, on Facebook about 2 years ago, but I heavily re-edited it because there were things I wanted to add, like, oh no, I'm not even going to say because it would destroy it for people. But it's just looking across the field with the quietness and the pheasant and the peewits flying in the corner of the field and the tent imprints in the grass, you know, and looking at the field saying, do you know what? Next year we will be back. We've left a bit of an imprint. There's a few £1 coins from the beer tent in the rough grass at the bottom of the stile. You know, there's some Qashqai car keys behind the oak tree and a patch of very damp grass, which Mary left. Ask no questions. You know, and just stuff like this. You know,
Yeah.
and I just love it.
Just coming on from that, the lovely Derek Gibbon. Hi, Derek.
A gentleman.
He is a lovely guy. We had one guy at RCM who had a hissy fit over not finding anything by 10 a.m. on Saturday. He threatened to leave and boycott future events. 10 yards from him, a young lady had a run of sacks and fines. Yeah. Well, obviously that gentleman, it's not a hobby for him. Maybe
Did he buy a 10 o'clock fines ticket though?
No.
Well, no.
You might have bought a 10 o'clock lottery ticket.
I can see I'm going to get a nasty Facebook message now.
Inevitably. I've just got to say regarding those events as well, obviously the first events, I didn't make the main tent at RCM for the comedy night, and I was kept accompanied by little Tom, who does some 3D printing with Graham from Composite Pencil. I've got to thank him for keeping me company that night because I was neither fit nor use an ornament. And also Detectable. Friendship comes from all the oddest of places. I spent a good time chatting with James Barnes, who's going to be coming on the show in the near future discussing what he does regarding words gone blank, Adrian, geophysics and such like. And on Saturday night, me and Rob Random were sat outside the Magic Teapot for ages, and then people started to join us after the music. And I've got to say, I had an absolute marvellous time sat chatting with Rob. It was brilliant. Appreciate that, Rob.
I'll second that. My son said Rob is very random because he I think Rob's question to my son was, do you like polar bears or something like that? And then they started talking about tractors or something. But Rob, yeah, it was lovely. But friendship is in a teapot. Oh my God, yeah, that is it.
Yeah, I've got to tell you guys something that was emailed to me today via Facebook. A lady who writes for the magazine, lovely lady. She's currently out on holiday in Uzbekistan, and. But anyway, she's out in Uzbekistan and she emailed me and she said, oh, Jules, she said, I've just met two nice people out here, as you do in Uzbekistan. And she said, and she goes, and amazingly, you'll never believe this. She goes, right out in the middle of a desert. She said, they're metal detectorists. And I said, we do get far and wide. I said, amazing scenery like that. And at the bottom, a ping come on and it said, oh, so we don't look amazing, Jules, don't we? And it was another writer for the magazine.
Wow.
They met up in the deserts of Uzbekistan. I mean, this guy's, well, all three of them are lovely people. And they write moderately frequently for the magazine. And I just thought, that's it. You couldn't have taken a copy of the mag out with you, though, because that would have made a cracking photo. But I didn't look at it.
Got to show you this. Look at this. It was made for us. Only 3 in existence.
Oh, that's rather nice. Who made that for you?
That's an absolutely lovely bloke up in Scotland called Brian Goodsir Thompson at Monarch.
Oh, well, yeah, no, I know Brian well. I suspected it was him. I love
even though the time's wrong.
Is it? It's not. It's 10 to 9.
Oh, it's because it's on the interwebs. The internet takes time
That's
back.
really nice, that, Dave.
Isn't it?
Has he got a date on it?
No. How'd you put
And-
this on now? There you go. Yeah, and our key rings.
I must
Which
admit, I've got a
are green.
bookshelf with loads of his stuff on it. What a guy! And to
Why
see
is
his
that not
business
gold?
grow from something so tiny now to just about he makes everything, and if he doesn't, he can do. Absolutely amazing fella.
Well, Mr. Good Sir Thompson's actually been communicating with me and Adrian for a bit, and he'd like to do something for the show, and that will be coming soon.
I look forward to that. I really do.
And every guest that comes on the show from now on gets a
That was
bit like
that was what I was on about, but it was a surprise then.
Oh, well, Jules.
Go
is
on,
the first.
carry on,
Jules,
carry on.
Every guest. I nearly said a certain badge that had a red ribbon around it, but I can't mention that. Every guest that comes on the show gets a big detecting show keyring now, and Jules,
cool.
you're going to be the first person to get one. So yeah, limited edition, and thank you ever so much, Monarch Designs, for
Absolutely.
providing
Thank
those.
you, Brian.
Yeah, he's a good lad.
Right, I'm gonna put a quick video on the Rodney Cook one that I've compiled. Now, as I say, I didn't get out and about as much as I'd like to, but I've tried to take some photographs, and obviously some are readily available from the RCM site, as is the detectable one I've got coming up a little bit later. So give us a couple of minutes of your time, and Adrian, you can have a little smoke, and Julian, you can go and have a poo. In a minute.
I might have a poo.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh dear.
Oh, we're still here. Shane doing Scotty's hair.
Oh, lovely. All the time. Okay, Carol. Oh dear. Oh, bless him. Lovely guy.
Best moustache ever.
Yeah.
Who's that?
Oh, she's nice. That's the chica. Blue eyes. There were more.
Hello.
Look at those.
Beautiful land.
Yeah, beautiful.
How good were they?
Man mounted by there. Oh, I knew that. Drop.
Mincing about. I've put the same pictures in about 20 times here, haven't I? About 10 minutes of yours. Find of the week.
Nice.
That's lovely.
Nice photo, that. lovely photo.
That's an absolutely stunning shot, that one.
Well done. I will just quickly say that there was a lot that came up at Rodney Cook, which naturally there will, because there was a lot, 1,500 odd people there. But if you want to see probably most selection of finds, if you head over to rodneycookmemorial.co.uk and click on the homepage, I think it's got the finds, and they're all on there as well as Dave's pictures. But yeah, there's a lot of good finds. And Detectival had some good stuff come up as well. Not for me and you, Dave, but Detectival had some nice finds come up as well.
And they had them fantastic sandwiches called Cubanos. Oh.
Yeah, but that later changed to burger and chips.
That's because they ran out of Cubanos, because I kept buying them.
Yeah, I got a picture. They took the sign off that said Cabanos. I think because the average detectorist didn't know what it meant. Thought it was probably some sort of sanitary towel dispensing unit or something, but it was actually changed it to burger and chips. But the food was good, and the beer. There were 2 bars that went down well.
And Nocta, of course. Nocta surprised us with not one but 3 new additions to their range. Which
well, actually,
Dilek's just done a presentation about this afternoon.
And today there's 4. Actually, it's 4.
4.
So
is there?
There's the
AccuPoint
pinpointer, which looks amazing. And for people to say that Nocta copy other manufacturers, I haven't seen a pinpointer like this. It's Bluetooth. Well, that's someone else does that, but a color screen, ferrous, non-ferrous tones on the pinpointer.
It was like a mini metal detector when it comes to the settings on it, wasn't it?
And it's got a little digging tool on it and everything, but that was really impressive. Then they brought out the Score, and the Score double score metal detector, which is multi-frequency, waterproof, Bluetooth, and is going to be very good value for money. Why they've brought another one out, I don't know. These guys, they're like someone who constantly wants like 12 children. They're constantly banging out new machines. And then today they did a live stream and they announced they're going to bring out a new program for the Nocta Macro Legend, which is going to call the Boost or Beast Mode.
Beast Mode!
Yeah, I hope they call it Boost, but it's in early development. But this is going to pump out more power for more depth for relics. So whether this is looking for, like Jules, like planes, like whether it's going to drop the frequency down or they're going to do something clever with the multi-frequency, it's going to get huge depth. So they're doing that. And Dilek and their team went on stage at Detectival and they launched these products. And a few people have spoken to me and said, well, Detectival's a Nocta event. Well, it wasn't. They just went on the stage. And we spoke to Pete, didn't we, at LP about this, Dave? Every manufacturer was given the opportunity to go on stage at Detectival and talk, promote, shout about their products. And Nocta, as usual, were the only ones who, because they like talking, went up there. So apart from me and you, Dave, with the awards, the raffle and Nocta, maybe this is me saying this and Rodney Cook as well. Get up there, guys. Your customers, they're all your customers. Get up there. Go and talk about something. You know, XP.
And when we talk about stage, obviously, again, somebody for us to thank, Adrian. I think we'd like to thank both Gary and the team from the RCM and Pete Terrell at Detectival for a few minutes presence and in front of everybody to do the awards.
Yes, you broke up a bit there. I don't know if it was me or did he break up for you, Dave? Jules.
Yeah. Thank you to Gary and the team, and thank you to Pete and the team for allowing us the presence on stage to do the awards.
Yes, yeah, it was very, very nice of them. And me and Dave don't make any money out of this. We do it at our own heart. We pay for the awards. We pay for all the 3D printing.
Nick Berry, obviously, he gave us his time and engraving. So can't thank him enough for that.
Yeah, and like I was talking to someone about it at Detectival, where else do you get a fishing rally? You have fishing competitions, which is the next closest thing to our hobby. But metal detecting, we're so lucky because we can all just turn up, sit in a field, drink beer all day, and then go out detecting, or go out detecting, then drink beer. Which is the most common
tea.
one.
Or tea.
Yeah, or tea, or sit in the teapot. But yeah, it was. It is a fantastic hobby, which leads me on to your book, Jules. Again, I know that's why we're on here tonight. Those who want to find out more about Jules's book, it is available on Amazon. But if you scan this with your phone now, this QR code, Dave might make it big for me, like he did
baby.
the other night.
Hold on.
If you scan that with your phone, if you have got a flip phone or a non-flip phone, an old-fashioned one, go to My Detecting Life. Is it Jules.co.uk?
Yeah, www.mydetectinglife.co.uk.
Actually, I've got it there. Oh, Dave, are you getting it? Oh, there you go. And you can order this polo neck from Daymart. No. Daymart, are they still going?
Yeah, I reckon so. And I'd just like to say thank you, Adrian, for all the work you did creating this, mate. It would have been beyond me. I'm just not technical. But many people have turned around, who've looked on this and said that the layout is just really eye-catching. So thank you, mate. I really appreciate that.
That's all right. That's all right. And then you can click on there.
Yeah.
Sorry, was that a mouse?
The picture of me.
Oh, right. Yeah, I photoshopped that a lot, Lisa. It's gone.
Oh, my God. People who bought this also bought a Dr. Otek shovel. Oh, my God. What sort of people do you bring to the hobby, Julian?
No, but this is good because they will read this book, Jules's book, and they will learn about all the good and bad points in the hobby. And we learn by our mistakes in life, and we learn by it in the hobby as well. You buy a top-of-the-range metal detector as your first machine, ruin all the default programs and put your own ones in because someone's told you online that's the best one. And we all learn from our mistakes. So, yeah. I
like the other book there, Schwatka's
We
Search.
can't see that.
Sledging in the Arctic in quest of the... What? You can't... Oh, right. Sorry, I'm looking on Amazon.
Yeah, sorry.
Right, sorry.
Getting you shopping. No, that's fine. But yeah, mydetectinglife.co.uk, and it's also available on Amazon. And so far, I've heard good reviews from people. And not because I know you, Jules, but it's for me, it's a good book because I like the way I can dip in and out of it. I'm not reading it from beginning to end. I'm dipping in and out.
Actually, it's almost designed for that. You could read it in one hit, but it'll take you 2.5 days because I speed read it and it still ground me down for 2.5 days. But it's something to be picked up, put down. You know, I envisaged it an all year round book, but I had a focus of somebody sitting in front of a log fire in winter thinking, now I'm going to get to grips with that and do it.
Good call,
you know, that's just my vision. Of course, it's not restricted to any month or whatever of the year, but I just, it's a pick up and put down book. And it really doesn't matter if you don't remember where the page you were, because there is a flow. It's a date flow, but not a factual flow. Or if there is a factual flow, it lasts for about 2 pages and then it just tangents off onto another subject. So,
it's perfect for the coffee table, Julian.
One of those things, yeah.
I think for Christmas, all of you out there, tell your housing manager, whether it's male or female or whatever, good little stocking filler. Look at that. It's a good book. It's quite cheap. It's quite cheap. How much is it? How much is it, Jules? You probably don't
15, know. Yeah, it's £15, which
Absolute
I thought these
bargain.
days. Yeah, I thought, I wanted to. I didn't want to price it well out of range, which a lot of authors do with stuff. If you've got a private publisher or something, and I thought, the stuff I want to speak this, and therefore I can't restrict it. I don't want to make heaps of money out of it because it's not the reason it was done for. That's always been. I'd never make a businessman. I think I've written something like 34 books in the last 30 years, and Yeah, well, as you can tell, I've not retired.
No, I think
Adventures in Dirt, Ken. Julian, you need him on your show to talk about his book. Trust me.
I've just got to say hello to Pomsey. I saw you, Pomsey, at Rodney Cook, and we did go over to the far field in the Gator, and my son found a medieval trade weight shield shaped one. It was quite good over there. But Pomsey just says it was lovely talking to you, Pomsey, and I hope you got on all right where you stayed that night. He's saying there's only 9 left in stock on Amazon. So, but if it is out of stock, you can still pre-order it.
It was 15 at 3 o'clock this afternoon. So I don't know how accurate the figures are on Amazon, but I have let Dan know because he put an initial stock in there. So it's one of the Amazon are very fluid. Even if they're out of stock, they'll just log your order, and as soon as the stock's replenished, bosh. It's sorted out. So.
The reason I went to the big screen then, Ange says that the QR code didn't work. I've just tried it, Ange, and it goes perfect.
Well, if it doesn't, Ange, go to
mydetectinglife.co.uk. In fact, we'll put a banner. We'll put a banner on, Adrian.
It's printed in the United Kingdom, which is nice. So yeah, the book, Jules. I've got a few questions. Personally,
fire away, sir.
What would your top 3 tips, whether it's down to machine, land, people, what you wear, makeup, be if you said to someone starting out in the hobby of metal detecting?
The priority one that I would have to apply is don't try and rush things and run before you can walk, or try to be a big name in the hobby if such a thing exists. Just sit back, chill out, listen to what more experienced people have got to say, digest some of it. If you don't think it's right, ask somebody else. But learn and listen. It's a hobby that cannot be rushed. You know, you'll get that. My first gold stator took 45 years to materialize in a field that I've been detecting on for 40 years. I worked out the other day, I've been on that field 8,000 times, and it's not very big, you know, which always amazes me when people turn up at a rally and say, oh, not that field over there, that 100-acre, whatever it is, I was on there last year. No, it's a hobby that will not be rushed. So listen and learn, and don't try and rush it. You know, they say don't buy an advanced machine when you start. That's probably pretty good advice as well, unless you're technically gifted, in which case that's fine. You know, you'll read the instruction manual and you're off out, but most of us aren't. So, you know, pick something, whatever you can afford. The end of the idea on that one is it's not the technology or whatever, it's what you can afford. And you can still enjoy this hobby with a £120 metal detector. It doesn't matter. You see wildlife, you're out with the kids, you find a Victorian penny. All metal detectors will find metal. The technology is different according to price. Well, one hopes so. So, you know, basically, okay, don't rush things. Just enjoy it. It's like fishing. You're never going to put that fish on the end of the hook. But with experience, you might look at the overhanging willow branch and think, I know the beast lurks under there. You might look at the eddies of water or the formation of the bank where the water strikes. You pick this stuff up by listening to other people. You know, when I first got into it, most of the detectors then were considerably older than I was. And that's wealth of information they could give you. You know, like looking for a Roman villa. All the little things, I've shared every single thing they told me in this book, you know, from even looking at flocks of migratorial birds that stop in the same part of the field every year, season on season on season. You know, it won't work every time, but in a lot of cases, the reason they do that is because the soil is richer there. And the reason there's a soil is richer there is because there's a Roman building there and maybe a Saxon building later on. And the amount of vegetable cuttings, poo that's gone into the soil lead to a higher worm count. So those birds want to look for value sites. They're not going to stop anywhere. They've got thousands of miles to fly. So they want to stop at charging points. And many times this will be where site of human habitation is. last year I took a photo of a Roman villa out in the field, and the crows were actually on the outlines of every single room. Why they should be, I don't know, but it was weird. Maybe it give off some geothermal and it was warming them up. But they mapped the Roman villa out in crows, and it's a bit fuzzy on the edges in some areas. But I looked and I thought you could just drive past that and not even know. So it's all, you've got to be a detective as well, but that will come with time. Again, the biggest step is don't rush things, enjoy it. The countryside so much, it doesn't matter whether you find, when you're young, you're probably looking at your mate's gold state, thinking, wish that was me. But as I've got older and I look at it now, I've had some lovely, lovely finds, and for those I'm truly grateful. But now the biggest bonus I get is just seeing it. I don't care who finds it. Yes, I'd like to find it. Am I bothered that I didn't? Absolutely not. You chill out. It's a chilled hobby. People often forget in this hobby, and you look at some of the Facebook and social media actions. All I'll say to these people is, look, mate, it's about opening a creaky oak gate, leaning on it, having a smoke if you do, looking out across that field where you found a Roman villa and going out there and recovering history. There's nothing else to talk about. Nothing else in this hobby at all. There's too many aspects of animosity, and I don't know what. I call it post-COVID brittleness, where people seem to be a lot less forgiving now. But some of the things that are said on social media, which are incidentally, social media to me is one of the greatest gifts that's ever been had. But I'm fully aware that it can be a very powerful manipulative tool as well. So, go easy, guys. There,
I think
there's actually only 6 left on Amazon now. I've just checked because a couple of people have mentioned it, and someone's texted me. John Clayton, Jules, he says, I have a book on a crash site on either a Lancaster bomber or a Wellington bomber from the 80s. I don't know if this book has been published or not. It was in Wales somewhere, but if you want the manuscript, I'll send it you.
Ooh, cheers, John. That's very kind. I'm not so active on the aviation archaeological front as I used to be. I mean, I was doing 5 digs a weekend, probably why I got married twice in that period of time, but hey-ho. Now, because the law has changed, and it's one of those laws which you will read about in my book, where I say it's written by people who don't participate in the hobby, that have a drastic influence on people like me that do. And they don't understand what they're making legislations about. Unless you do something, I find it very difficult to believe that you can sit around a table and make decisions about people who do. The best lawmakers are those who've done it, understand it, and can think, well, that's not that practical, or that's not going to work, or if we do that, people are just not going to show us our fines. It's all about thought, and I wish more legislation to do with the hobby and aviation archaeology. But I say I've put my views quite clearly in this. The hobby, aviation archaeology, did need legislation. There's no denying it. But now it's become so hard to obtain a license to dig. It's virtually rendered impossible. There are charity-based digs you see for ex-veterans, which is fabulous. But
Just Detect on now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just Detect on as we speak. Good luck to those, and at the weekend.
Yeah. But
sorry, George. Just going back to what you said, some very wise words there, which people have commented in the chat. We are all succumbed to this social media thing, and a lot of people do rely on social media, and when they buy something, when they go book a holiday, buy a metal detector. But some of the greatest people I've spoken to in the hobby aren't on social media, but they've been detecting like yourself for 50 years, and you're quite heavily on social media because you've got a lot of skills and advice to give. But I'll pick one prime example. I could name a few, but Gordon Bailey, who's written numerous books on metal detecting finds, he has detected all over the place. He has found stuff which we can only dream of. He's not on social media.
I'm pushing him. I am pushing him on that one.
Yeah, I don't think he'd have a life if he did, because he would be inundated. But
Yeah,
Gordon Bailey, for those who don't know, writes many books which are available through Greenlight Publishing on Buckle. Well, I can't even
everything.
count them. There's lots of
Most
books.
people have actually got at least one of his books in their collection.
Yeah, if you go back and look at one of your books and look who the author is, it's Gordon Bailey. And sitting with Gordon Bailey and talking about detecting, he's using an XP Deus Lite, and to him that's a really good machine. So I can't remember who it was, but someone in the chat said, buy any machine, it will find you something. It will. It might be a horseshoe or whatever. But Gordon didn't have the greatest machines in the early days, and he detected on my actual permission probably 20, 30 years ago. But talk to people, if you can, join a club, go to a rally, meet people. Like Jules said, don't rely too much on what you read or see on social media. As I always say on this show, always say it, if someone has spent the time to write it, get it edited, proofed, printed, it's got to be right. Jules is not going to end up in court because he's told you to put all these settings on your machine. There is no machines in here for a metal detector. If you want that, you're going in the wrong place. If you want to learn about the hobby and the morals, the kind of things that go on, buy that book. That's what it's all about.
I'd like to see this become a series, and I'd like to see Steve Newman's Detecting Life next.
Oh my God!
Yeah. Can you imagine?
Yeah, but I hope you're all right, Steve. Haven't heard from you in a while, but you can get distracted, and we all end up in that road. We all rely on the internet for everything, but fortunately, our hobby is a very sociable one, offline and online.
It is, and on that, I would say, there's a huge pool of information out there. So most people have got my email. It's widely available. You got any questions or finds you want identifying, pile them in, because research is king. You'll read in my book couples of things. I found a German 20mm cannon casing in North Hertfordshire. And through research, I found out the German pilot who fired it, what he was firing at, which was a Wellington bomber, which killed 8 people on board because he shot it down. The fact is that he had fitted his German bomber with infrared Q-tube device, which he could look through and see the bomber at 200-300 meters away in the sky, which I thought was, in 1941, was amazing. I then went on to discover that this particular bullet was made in batch number 5 on the 28th of January 1941 at the Kamensko plant in Poland, made by slave labourers. Now, that is a it's a chunky bullet case that I found in a field that leads you onto so much stuff. So then I go and research the Kamensko factory in Poland, and it never ends, and I could work out the batch number, the time it was produced, where it went, which Luftwaffe airfield it was supplied to, and I knew the pilot and the date who fired it. So you could trace that entire history. You can't do that with everything, but you never will unless you try. Everything's got a little story to tell. It's just prizing it out.
I think if you've enjoyed tonight's show or you've met Jules, like we said earlier, head over, get his book, 15 quid. That's cheaper, I think, than 20 Benson Hedges at the moment, which is really...
Well, certainly 2 pints of lager in London.
Yeah.
Steve Newman is in the chat. Good to see you, Steve. We actually spoke about you at Detectable at the weekend, and we both said we'd miss Steve this year, didn't we, Adrian?
Yes. Yeah, we did. Yeah, I hope you're doing all right, mate. And Steve's another very interesting detectorist in the hobby who has got some very knowledgeable things about it. And he's very...
And some hypotheses, which are... If you listen to his hypotheses, you're like, why has no one else thought of that?
Yeah. Steve's a lovely guy, and he's got some. I went to detect him with you last year, Steve, and he opened my eyes up. He knows the land. The guy grew up not far from London, and in the country. That's his good place, like all of us. And he was pointing at the ground constantly. See that? Oh, look, yeah, that there, that's there, and that brick, that's from that house. And I'm like, what? and he gave me a couple of bricks from a chimney from a really old house down the road, and he said there used to be one here and all this. But anyway, more importantly, Jules, you've been very kind in coming on the show tonight, but we're going to give one of these away to one of the people watching tonight, aren't we?
Oh, we be gods.
Yes. So, how are we going to do it, Dave?
Just what I was thinking.
How much does Lisa weigh? What size shoe is Lisa? No, that's too easy.
On a sound threshold, where is Lisa's voice within the threshold?
No, we can't do that one. She's a mouse. She's a mouse.
No, she's
not. Dave.
Jules, did you want to have a... No, I'm throwing it on the spot. I love this show. Somebody in the chat asked us a question to ask for the prize. No, I was joking. How about who could be the first person to say what Jules's tagline is if ever you talk to him or you follow his Facebook posts?
Potato.
So he has a certain terminology that he uses after he's spoken to you or he's put a post on Facebook.
I'm watching. All I'm doing is watching.
If you're not following Treasure Hunting Magazine, follow them tonight on Facebook.
Best Jules.
Oh, someone got it.
And it was Dave Moore.
Well done, Dave.
Just before Will Way.
Will, close. Thank you, Valley Rallies. He's just ordered a book. Can they get it signed when they see you?
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. I do get quite a few questions on that sort of thing because I don't carry any home stock, so it's from Amazon. I've got a bit of home stock, but it's the
sounds
post
like
office
drugs.
is like 8 miles away. So if you want to order off Amazon and have a blank copy, I'll catch me at one of the detecting events and I'll do a sign up and no problem at all.
So Dave Moore, if you can communicate with Adrian,
go to the bigdetectingshow.com, fill in the contact form, Dave, and we'll send it off to you. And I'll make sure it gets signed by Jules.
And we'll make sure that he also signs it with pants on.
Yes, and the pages won't be stuck. But all those who kindly entered, James Cotton. Oh God. No, Cotton. No, that's James. But yes, so I've forgotten who it is now. I'm going to have to write it down.
Dave Moore.
Dave Moore.
Yeah,
he's getting that book sent to him, and I've got it signed. And this is going to sell out quick. I know the stocks are dwindling. Yeah, so that is really, really good, Dave. And if I get chunkymonkey@gmail.com, send me an email. I can check it many ways. So Dave, others who try and mock you won't get it. I know we've got that sending you off to you shortly. Jules, with this book, would you potentially... Oh, sorry, before I forget, someone
Can I just say, people are saying that somebody else won, but we have all the feeds from all YouTube, both YouTube channels and all the Facebook groups, which has gone out to about 50 Facebook groups, and we get everything on the right-hand side of my screen in the order that it comes. So the order it is come up with...
And it's quicker than what you get on your social media, because that man there pays for certain software that gets it streamed straight to us, don't you, David? And you don't get any money. You don't get any money for that either, do you? It's all out of our own pockets.
No,
he won't admit it. This show
don't tell the housing
money.
Don't tell the housing manager.
You're a credit.
Hey, don't tell the housing manager how much the magazine cost. Then.
No, the Big Detecting Show. That's RKD Mag. But yes, there might be a few people in the chat, but we'll make sure we get that signed and posted off to you. So go to bigdetectiveshow.com, our website, which has also got a video of Jules receiving his award and everyone else at Rodney Cook, and also who won the awards this year.
Yeah,
And it will
let me
soon
just
have the
tell everybody the award winners while we're here.
Put it on the screen.
That's a good idea,
On the
actually.
website.
All right,
Yeah.
hold on,
Come on, Dave. Come on, Dave.
Chili beans.
Do you know it's gone
There,
quick
yeah.
tonight?
There, yeah. There it
This
is.
is why we get drunk in the hobby, because we all get chatting down the pub and then it all goes wrong. Here we go.
So, YouTuber of the year was Sid Perry. Detectorist of the year in the UK was Jason Jones. Manufacturer of the year was Minelab, and Minelab were so happy with it. It was all over them social media, oddly. The event of last year was the Rodney Cook 2022. Machine of the year was the XP Deus 2. Unsung hero was Ricardo Lees. I've got his whatnot here. Best customer service was Nocta. Sporting event of the year was Pete Terrell when he gave the BDO Female Darts Award Championship trophy. There you go, trophy.
Which he
from the
purchased.
BDO, which is shut down. He purchased and they gave to Trina Gulliver. We played that last week. And most captivating detectorist was Stephen Gray. And also, find of the year was Jason Jones is Axe. Best cake of the year was Lemon Drizzle.
We didn't give the person an award for that.
International metal detectorist of the year was Aquachigga. He was very, very shocked because he was, when we were doing the awards, he was out in the field still. So, yeah, he was very shocked at that, wasn't he, Adrian?
Yeah, massive. Yeah. And he's a big
product of the year was the composite cleaning pencil. Best hob ring was front left. Weirdos. Moment of the year was Detectorist Christmas Special. Episode of the year was episode 145, which was Dilek Gonule from Nocta. And we are now on episode 171, Adrian.
Flipping heck. Wow. Well, like we always say, Dave, any manufacturer, detectorist is welcome on the show, aren't they? Anyone.
And we've got some absolute doozies coming up, which we've arranged over the past week as well. Some new names, some old names, and some others.
Yes.
Lots.
So,
Lots. Do you know, we've got, it's 9:30, and I've only just realised. Julian, it's flown again, and
It has, sir.
can't thank you enough as ever. Is there anything else that you would like to add for the lovely viewing audience?
Gosh.
Is there any quick questions?
Yeah,
Sorry.
by all means, if there's any quick questions, I'll field them. It'd be a delight.
I have got one. Alan Champton from the Torquay Searchers, he said he loves the bit in the book when you and Tim from Welling Garden City joined a circus for 3 months. Did you read that bit, Dave?
Oh, yeah, I've read that bit. Yeah. About page
How
40
did you
or so.
How did you find that, Jules?
Got me a bit stumped there, really. I thought Tim and I from West.
Sorry, we wound you up.
I was gonna say,
Got you good.
The only circus we ever joined was the gravelly bed of the River Mimram, looking for stone loach. But yeah, no, I thought.
Sorry, I put that one in as a bit of
hands up.
Sorry.
You know,
What have I written about circuses?
But Tim from Welling Garden City is a person you're friends with, or whatever in the book.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd put that in there, and I just thought I'd drop in the circus.
You actually had me think, well, I've only had half a pint of Doom Bar tonight, and I actually had to think then, did I join a circus? I think, no, yeah. That age where you can just tell me I did something, and I'll go, yeah, all right, mate, yeah. Geezers.
James, Eagle Eye DJ, has just said, mention Kimbo's rally. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be there.
How do I mention it? It's one of them quiet rallies, like a lot of them, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a post up on my homepage of all the details. There's day tickets available, and obviously the camping 3-day or 4-day, whatever it is. I really don't know the details. There's Kimbo's phone number on there, and anyone is welcome.
Who is Kimbo? I've never actually come across him. The only Kimbo I know is Kimbo Slice, and he was a well-odd fella.
It's Kim Clark. Kimbo's rally, or Kimbo's, is synonymous with a rally that's been held in it's North Essex, I believe. I'm rubbish on geography.
Yeah, she goes all over.
He does other areas, but this one is the actual epithet of Kimbo. It's lovely. He's got the same people, hardcore, who've been for the last 16, 18 years, and loads of new people go every year. And the gold status and things just, I don't know how he does it. The fields just flow. But that in itself says, those people who say, I went on there last year. Kimbo's is on the same fields. You might crop rotation, you might get an extra field, or you might get less. But there's always gold status coming off there and loads of stuff. And he's had rallies on there for decades. So it's just good land.
You might be able to come home with a lot of onions or potatoes.
Yeah, I've checked. The fields have been done, harvested. So I shall be gleaning.
Yes. There's a lot of... I went on there once a couple of years ago with my mate, and we absolutely smashed it, didn't we, Jules? With our route of sort of 71s, we smashed it, and those fields just giving and giving and giving.
When is this event?
This weekend coming. Don't ask me if it starts Thursday or Friday. I don't know. But if you look at my homepage, you'll see I maybe scroll down a couple of posts, because there's things like wonky tomatoes.
Well, you were going to say wanky then, weren't you?
I know. I sort of stuttered in my old age.
Adrian, get this bit where he says wanky.
Scroll down a bit, and you'll see Kimbo's Weekender event, and you've got all the details there and a selection.
Kimbo's Wanky Weekender.
Kimbo's. He's going
to kill me now. He's going to bloody kill me, isn't he? But have a look on my homepage on Facebook. All the details are there.
Lovely soil. Lovely
look
soil.
Forward to seeing everyone
you can use
there.
your hands.
It's going to be brilliant.
Well, listen, it's later than we normally finish. Julian, as ever, we can't thank you enough for coming on.
No,
and thank you for being you and being a friend as well, because I know a lot of people come to see you at the RCM, but thanks for spending time with me and having a chat and what have you.
It's always a privilege. And thank you for allowing me to speak about stuff. It's always
it's
good.
what you do.
And I'll tell you what, Jules, something you should take your hat off as well. Not only are you, which has been said in the chat, an ambassador to our hobby, you're a nice guy. And my son, who's only just started detecting, he said Jules is such a classic bloke, and he's learnt a lot off you. But he said, "Did you like the red wine the other week when we went out for a drink?"
Well, I'll tell you what, Tom. I've just written an article on the Rodney Cook, and in it is your medieval lead trade weight. But I'm going to edit that in the morning. And, just cut that right out, mate. Now, Adrian, I have to say, is a lovely young lad. You should be so proud, because
thank you.
I can't even think how old he is, but he can hold a conversation intellectually and jokingly and mick-takingly with somebody of my age. He's a geezer.
Well, I think
Adrian, I had a mint time with him, and you should be very proud as well.
Absolutely. Lovely young man.
Tom is a legend. He fit right in with us all straight away. It was like he'd been there for years.
And it's important as well, because when you have children and they're young, they can get mixed up in the wrong things. And don't get me wrong, Tom, he goes out drinking and partying and stuff. But to have that weekend where, I'm going out detecting with my dad tomorrow, so I'm going to be home at 11 or 12.
Yeah.
It's better than getting in at 3 or 4 and then sleeping until 1 in the afternoon and then getting a McDonald's through Subway or whatever.
Yeah.
McDonald's through Subway, but Just Eat or whatever. But yeah, and it's good bonding. So anyone who's got kids who take the mickey out of you, like mine has done for the last 5-10 years, Get them to just come out of you one day. You might need to tease them with like a spinner or a can of Stella, which I did initially. But now we don't take alcohol. We detect without.
Hey,
so
I'm lucky. My 10-year-old's loving it.
give it another 10 years. Woohoo.
Absolutely. Well, listen, don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen, because we've got the detectable video coming up to end the show. So we'll run that, and then we won't be there at the end of it. So again, Julian, thank you as ever.
Goodbye.
You
And thank you
absolute
to
bloody
everyone
legend.
for tuning in. It's been a real honour, as always.
mydetectinglife.co.uk, or just Google it. Just have a look for it in the Amazon search
Shameless
bar.
plug.
It's got pictures.
Shameless
It's
plug.
got pictures.
Where's mine? There it is. Again, thank you all. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all
Cheers,
for coming
everybody.
to see us. And we will be back same time, same place next week. Tatty bye.
Oh, we
Oh,
here still.
we forgot this. We're still at the side, aren't we?
It's gone.
Julian's gone. Had enough of us. Needs a poo.
Won't you call me when you get this? Yeah. 도도한 두 눈에 매력적인 입술
The legend. Father, watch Adrian.
말을 걸 때마다 내 기분은 higher Girl, what's your desire? 내 심장은 paradise Beautiful girl, can't you see? 다들 너를 질투해 걱정 마, girl, can't you see? 내 눈엔 늘 완벽해 Won't you call me when you get this? Yeah 못 나도
That's Dan. I got a picture in Dan.
Yeah 뭘 해도 내겐 이뻐 Yeah
Brian again.
I want more money
I actually made this post for that.
못 나도 내겐 이뻐 Yeah 뭘 해도 내겐 이뻐 Yeah
How happy you look there.
I want more money I want more
Yo. 네가 한숨을 쉬고 있는 모습 보면 절대 걱정하지 않아 너의 건강 이건 사랑 같은 시시한 게 아니야 우리 생긴다면 같이 하자 다야 나의 주변이 내게 넌 항상 I don't give a I don't give a 너의 주변이 내게 난 항상 I don't give a I don't give a 너가 어떤 표정에도 절대 평가하지 않아 거울 안에 너보다 거울 밖의 사람 내가 어때 같은 그런 질문하면 난 항상 너에게 I don't give a I don't give a I don't give a
Won't you call me when you get this? Yeah 못 나도 내겐 이뻐 Yeah 뭘 해도 내겐 이뻐 Yeah I want money I want 못 나도 내겐 이뻐
Have you seen the sword actor as well?
뭘 해도 내겐 이뻐 Yeah I want more money yeah I want more money yeah
너가 어떤 표정에도 절대 평가하지 않아 거울 안에 너보다 거울 밖의 사람 내가 어때 같은 질문하면 항상 난 I don't give a
못 나도 내겐 이뻐 yeah 뭘 해도 내겐 이뻐 yeah I want 못 나도 내겐 이뻐 yeah
Me.